Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/OhNoConsequences. As per usual, I'll be reading you the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Cross posted from r/Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for wanting my daughter to be with me when I'm available? I, 30 female, have a 5-year-old daughter Annie with my ex Daniel, 28 male. We have a 50-50 agreement with the 5225 schedule. Those are not good, don't do that. Daniel has a girlfriend, Jessie, 25 female, who I cannot stand. We do not get along, and she has manipulated my daughter into liking her more. They both have. She sometimes doesn't even want to speak to me or come to my house when their time is up, but once she's here, she loves being with mommy. I've tried to get along with this girl, but she's played the victim so much that my ex claims I'm mistreating her when I'm not. I just want what's best for my daughter, and she wants to cause a rift between us. Sometimes during his custody days, Annie is left alone with Jessie when I'm available, and that is not fair. I asked for the right of first refusal, but Daniel refused to add it to our agreement, so they wouldn't put it in since we already are high conflict. I had a day off, and Jessie took Annie to the carnival with her cousin so that I couldn't see my daughter. I showed up to the carnival with the police and demanded my child back. Annie started crying, wanting to stay, and Jessie just kept apologizing to her, saying, "Just go have fun with mommy, daddy will get you later." She texted me that I was being evil, and my ex said it's not fair to alienate Annie from his other family members, which includes her future stepmom, and claims he's going to take me to court, but no court system is going to say send Annie with someone else when her mom is free. Actually, they will. You violated your custody agreement in one of the most egregious ways possible. Edit, to everyone calling me jealous, I'm not jealous of her and their relationship. I left him. Info, Jessie has been in Annie's life since she was 2. Edit 2, Jessie is a stay-at-home mom for Annie when she's there, so she gets to spend more time with Annie than both of her real parents combined, until Annie starts school in the fall. Her schedule is incredibly flexible, which means she doesn't have to plan things for days she knows I'm free. Edit 2, you guys can stop private messaging me to tell me how awful I am. I get it. I do love my daughter and thought I was doing what was right, but I guess it wasn't. You don't have to harass me and call me an abusive mother. I just want to put this into perspective here. Minus the 5225 schedule, which is not good for a child's cohesive mental health. Keep it week on, week off. That's far better for their mental health. I'm speaking from experience there. It allows for more stability. But more importantly, during your husband's custody time that the courts have given him, even though your daughter wasn't with your husband and she was with her future stepmother, she was at the carnival having a good time. And what's a core childhood memory she now has? Her mom showing up with police officers, tearing her out of the carnival and taking her home. So I wanted to take a look at her comments just to see if there was any more info I could grab, and the first one I find, ironically enough, is, quote from OP, "We did a 7-7, week on, week off, for a while because he claimed it was easy on her since she gets stressed out at drop-offs and he thinks less drop-offs are better, but it was just too hard for me, and I think it's a long time for her too." So from my experience as someone who went through divorced parents and did a 2-2-3 schedule where 2 days, 2 days, 3 days, and that would, rotate, the more drop-offs that you have to go through as a child and change of environments you're exposed to on a frequent basis really does fuck with the mind. It kind of just puts you in this constant state of you're trying to adjust to different rule sets, different families, adds to stress, anxiety, and is honestly just a lot of kind of complicated things for a 5-year-old or younger to keep track of and try to navigate. And a week on, week off schedule was honestly one of the better things that happened when my parents were divorced, because it allowed me to settle in and actually just enjoy being in one space for an extended period of time before having to move to a different one. It's stability. Yeah, it's hard for the parents, but it's better for the child. Also, 2 more comments I just want to take a look at. Again, from OP, and honestly the context isn't really needed for these ones because you'll see why. He wouldn't tell me where she was, only who she was with, because Jessie has got no contact with me except for what is required by court, and claims she's scared of me. Which is ridiculous because I am Annie's mother. I had a friend check her socials since she blocked me and put 2 and 2 together. She's probably scared of you because you're willing to get the police involved and kind of put her in a position where it looks like she kidnapped your daughter in a public environment. I don't blame her for being scared of you, because if you were so quick and willing to pull something like that, what else did you pull? Another comment additionally, we only did mediation. It's not a binding court order set by a judge. Also, Jessie just did what she was told by the police. I told them she has my daughter, she's not her real mom, and I want her back. And they got her back. Yeah, you really did just put Jessie in a position where if she didn't listen to the police, she was kind of fearing kidnapping charges, despite the custody arrangement that was agreed upon. That's fucked up. It sounds like Jessie is used to de-escalating your antics, because good God. Now, the consequences here are everyone beginning to hate her and her confused why, and additionally, over time, your daughter is going to be included in that boat because she's going to have core childhood memories of police officers dragging her out of the carnival. Cross-posted r/true off my chest. Met my boyfriend's girlfriend of 7 years today in the hospital. We've been together 2 years. Just this week, talking about kids and marriage. Met my parents. Has a key to my house. My dog loves him. He was in a motorcycle accident last week. Broken collarbone, shoulder, arm, wrist. Could have been worse. Even now, I'm glad it wasn't. Because then, I never would have met her. I walk into the room, care package with his favorite crochet blanket I made in hand. And she was there. On the bed. Even then, he tried to cover for himself. She was a friend from university, that they had a thing for years ago, but not anymore. I'm so glad I ran into her downstairs and found out the truth. Every word he ever said, every promise, every I love you was a fucking lie. 2 years of my life and I was the other woman. He made me that. But not anymore. I am so sorry I didn't know. I swear from the bottom of my heart I didn't. You deserve better. I told you that, and I mean it. I still mean it even now. I'm gonna be fine. I know this. He doesn't define me, but his actions define him. I hope you see this. I hope you know that when you live your sad, lonely life, it's not because the world is cruel. It's you. Some fun additional comments. Just use the damn ATM comments. Used to work in a hospital gift shop. This kind of thing happens a lot more than you might think. Dish Groundbreaking 87 responds, I used to work in a florist. Same. Just use the damn ATM further responds, once had a woman come in who had clearly been crying. She asked what cards we had for saying, sorry I've been unknowingly sleeping with your husband for 3 years. I pointed her to the blank inside sympathy cards. Seemed like the closest. Sorry Ariel responds, seems like an untapped market. Whip F. Metz responds further, untapped? No. He tapped too many. The person who cross-posted this to r/OhNoConsequences provides additional context in the comments. Choco Bo Mog comments, relevant comment describing what happened after the girlfriends met. So when I got there, he immediately got out of bed and said he needed the bathroom, and she went with him. I think I was in shock. I just stood there in the empty room, and when they came back a good 10 minutes later, he gave her her bag and she left. He said she was an old girlfriend. They had a thing years ago and she saw on Instagram about the accident and came over. He didn't use IG or social media. That's why I'm not on any of them. I grabbed my bag and left. About 2 minutes after her, I saw her outside on the bench. I think she was in shock. I went over and introduced myself. I'm MM, and I've been with him 2 years. How long have you been with him? And then she said 7. And we talked for a few minutes. She went back up to get some answers. I wanted to too, but fuck, I'm the fucking side piece here. What right do I have? Whatever I'm feeling, times that by at least 3, I guess, for her. I asked her for a photo to send him, the last thing he'll ever get from me. I sent it to him saying we talked, and I'll have the locks changed before he gets out of the hospital. Now I'm kind of wondering how many, relationships where someone was leading a double life were exposed because they ended up in the hospital, and how would that end up working out with emergency contacts? Would it ever cross your mind not to put both of them on for an emergency contact, or did he have his original girlfriend as an emergency contact, but then texted her, his other girlfriend, OP, That he was in the hospital and she decided to do an impromptu visit and that's how she found out? Or did this idiot list both of them as emergency contacts and that's how they ended up finding out? Either way, like, you get what you deserve. Cross-posted from r/am I the asshole. Am I the asshole for throwing them out of a house that we own? Son and future in-laws decided to exclude his family from wedding. They thought son owned the house, not us. My wife and I bought a 4-bedroom house in PA that my son lives in. Our son went to college in PA and wanted to stay in the area, so we bought the house as a second home. We live in New Jersey and commute to Manhattan for work. We figured that he would have a place to live and we could visit every so often and spend some quality time together. We pay the taxes and services/maintenance on the house. Our son pays for his groceries and the house utilities. All was going well for a few years. Our son meets a girl and they get serious. We met her and she seems nice enough. They announce their engagement and she moves into the house with our son. Now, for the problem. The wedding. We had a little get-to-know-you barbecue at the Pennsylvania house. My son and daughter are there, as are son's fiancé and her parents and sisters. We all seem to be getting along well. My wife, daughter, and the fiancé go into the house along with her mother and sister and my son. A few minutes later, my wife and daughter come out and are really upset. They come over and tell me we're leaving and driving back to New Jersey. I try to find out what happened. Once we get back to New Jersey and they calm down, they tell me that our son and his fiancé, along with her family, don't want us at the wedding. According to what I was told, we're not their kind of people. I was livid. I called my son and asked him what the hell this was about. He tells me that her family feel that we're not good enough and will embarrass them at a family wedding, and that we are all uninvited from the wedding. I let a week go by to calm myself down and drive back to the Pennsylvania house. The new future in-laws are in the house along with the fiancé. It appears that they all moved into the house. They ask me why I'm there. I tell them that since we aren't invited to the wedding, I was coming over to talk to my son. They tell me to leave their house. I lost it. I told them that they had 30 days to get out. Tell my son I'm selling the house and he could find somewhere else to live with all of you. I go to a realtor in town and list the house for sale. They call my son at work and tell him what I said. Apparently, they thought he owned the house. He calls me and asks why I'm selling his house. I tell him I paid for it along with the taxes on it and it's mine. He was living there rent-free, but since he doesn't want us in his new life, he has to get out. I tell him the same as I told his future in-laws. They have 30 days to get out, then I'll get a lawyer and get them evicted. Am I the asshole for taking a hard stance on this? He is my son, but the in-laws seem to take over and we no longer count. I desperately went to go check for an update, and unfortunately there is nothing. I wanted the details, the deets, the gossip, all of that, but unfortunately that's not something we're going to be privy to. But yeah, OP, not the asshole here. Honestly, entirely justified in what their plans are. As they said, if their son doesn't want them in his life, then he can move on without them, and everything that they've been handing to him on a silver platter, including living in their house, rent-free, with no need to pay for any of the kind of additional expenses like the escrow or the real estate tax, which can be a lot. You can't just hit the hand that feeds you with an aluminum bat and wonder why it's no longer feeding you. That's a pretty dumb decision. Cross-posted from r/am I the asshole. Am I the asshole for sending my son to school when he wasn't supposed to go? Using a throwaway account. I, 36 female, have a son, 9 male. He's in the 4th grade right now. What happened? I was making my son get up to get ready for school like every day. He told me he won't be going since they had a field trip planned. He said he wouldn't go and the last day to pay had passed. I was completely blindsided and asked, what field trip? And why didn't he tell me until right now? He told me that the school organized a field trip to a museum and was informed last month, and he didn't tell me since he didn't want to go. He said he planned on spending the day relaxing and playing games since he couldn't go to school. The problem was that there was no one to watch him. His dad had already left for work, and I had to go to work, so he had to go to school. He told me that nothing could be done now, and that the last day to pay for the field trip had passed, so I couldn't send him to school and had to let him stay home. I don't normally do this, but I called his class teacher to ask if there was any way to get him on the field trip now. She said no, and that all plans were made, and there was absolutely no way to get him on now. I told her I had to send him to school and explain my situation. I asked if there was another class he could stay in, or if he could stay in the library or someplace for the day. His teacher said maybe, but would get back to me in some time. But I didn't have time to wait. I told my son to get ready and to take his books. He can stay in the library the whole day. He was begging me not to send him, but I had to anyway. By the time his bus came, I sent him off, but didn't get a call from his teacher yet. I also took away his devices and left a flip phone with his SIM for doing such antics to skip school. I got a call from his teacher after the bus left that she had talked to the principal, and the principal said no. I told her that I had already sent him in the bus, and she asked why I hadn't waited for her to call. I told her that I had to go to work and didn't have the time to drop him after she had called. When his bus reached the school, his teacher met with him and took him to the kindergartner's library. She told him that was the only place where there was someone to watch him and to stay there until the end of the day. My son then stayed in the library the whole day and took the bus back home. After some time, my husband came back home. He was crying and telling him how I was a horrible person for not letting him take the day off when he's a good kid. He really is, other than this. And for grounding him on top of that. He said that I was torturing him by doing this. My husband called to ask, and I explained the situation and would talk more when I got home. When I got home, he was crying and asked why I wouldn't just let him stay at home, about how his day at school was absolute torture as he had nothing to do. I told him he isn't old enough to look after himself the whole day and there was no one who could babysit on such short notice for a non-emergency. He asked why his regular babysitter couldn't come. She herself is a high schooler and has school in the morning, so I can't ask her to skip school. He asked why I couldn't stay home. I had work. I asked him what happened. He said that he had to sit in the kindergartner's library all day since the librarian for his grade was on leave and all his teachers also left for the field trip. He said he was bored out of his mind as there was nothing to do all day, and all the books there were for babies. His words. I told him he had his own books to study from, so what happened with those? He didn't touch them since he was so bored. He was crying more about how a regular day at school was better than this. And to top it all off, while he was taking the bus home, the other kids were talking about how much fun they had. This made him feel even worse about the whole situation. I asked him why he didn't just tell us and why there was no message from the school about this. He said that he didn't want to go since he thought it would be boring, so didn't tell us. I asked why there was no messages about it either. He admitted he took mine and my husband's phone and deleted the messages from the class WhatsApp group. Okay, this is not America. So we wouldn't see them. I checked the school app and the notification was there, but I thought I missed it since I get so many notifications. But my son admitted he saw the notification and closed it on both our phones, so we wouldn't notice. I asked him why he didn't just tell us he didn't want to go. We wouldn't have forced him if he didn't want to go. He said he planned on playing video games all day since we couldn't send him to school on that day, since we hadn't paid, so we would be forced to let him stay home. That was his plan all along. Tell us last minute so that we couldn't send him to school, so let him stay home. My husband chimed in and said, "We could have dropped you at your grandma's house if you didn't want to go or find a babysitter to stay with you in advance." He heard this and started crying even harder. I told my son he had no one but himself to blame for this situation and that had he told me earlier that I could have arranged for childcare. The same day, I got an email from his teacher. She told me that he wasn't supposed to be in school and had to personally request the kindergartner's librarian to watch my son. She also told me that the librarian told her that my son was crying all day and begging to go home, but she couldn't do anything. She told me to come in for a meeting to discuss my actions and that she might get into trouble for this. I sincerely apologized for my actions, but told her that there wasn't anything else I could have done. I might be the asshole for sending my son to school, despite not getting the confirmation from his teacher and letting him get bored all day. She called me negligent for not checking the school app, circular, sent through child, or the WhatsApp message. They had informed us every way they could, but that neither me nor my husband had checked. So, this is definitely kind of a complicated situation, but this entirely falls onto the kid. Originally, I was going to, comment on the negligence of the fact they didn't check to see if there was any notifications or emails from the school, assuming that it was America, because that's a pretty commonplace thing. And additionally, if there weren't any notifications, I would have then asked why the school wasn't sending those out. But it turns out the 4th grader thought they were being big-brained and that they could just remove the notifications and get away with skipping it. The whole ask for forgiveness and not for permission kind of mindset. Well, the kid found the consequences of his actions. Rather than go on a field trip that he thought would be boring, instead he had to spend the entire day in the library because he thought, as a 9-year-old, that he would just be able to stay home all day and play video games. That's not how that works. He planned this 4 weeks, thought he could get away with it, purposely made it so his parents didn't know, and told his teachers that he wouldn't be going as if he had express permission from his parents. Now, he's grounded, had to spend an entire day in a kindergartner's library, and hopefully learned his lesson that he should be communicating with his parents and not conniving and scheming for a day of video games. He chose to do the wrong thing, and he had to face the consequences for it. And honestly, at first I thought I was going to be against the mom on this one, but after reading, I'm very much on her side, because what was she supposed to do in this instance? Her child literally manipulated and sabotaged any way she could have found out about the field trip and put her in this position, and she did, honestly, all she really could do. Send her kid to school so that way there's at least an adult watching over him. Also, I don't know what country OP is in, but that definitely sucks that if you can't pay for the field trip that there's no childcare provided. In US schools, if one person can't pay for a field trip, usually there's at least one teacher staying behind to manage the kids that can't come. So that's definitely a blunder on the school's part for not providing that kind of access, so that kind of sucks. Cross posted to r/overemployed. After a year, I finally got caught. Woke up this morning to a fun impromptu meeting with HR from Job 2. Turns out our VP couldn't find me on LinkedIn, so they messaged the recruiting firm who hired me and saw Job 1 on my profile. I was terminated immediately and asked if they were going to reach out to their employer, to which they replied, they're in the process of doing so. How cooked am I, and what can I do to try and keep Job 1? Update, not even an hour later, I was just terminated from Job 1. Really blows because I was doing well in each role, and honestly, I never expected to be caught. Fuck LinkedIn. Update 2. Job 3 was also contacted as it was on my resume. Got shut off EOD. Shout out Job 2 HR, I respect the dedication. Final update, this post blew up way more than I expected. Things didn't end the way I wanted. And it's been a pretty good learning experience. It's definitely time to rethink things. Appreciate the message and stories people shared. GG, well played. So I do respect the grind of having multiple jobs in order to pretty much compete in this economy, especially if you're able to maintain them and keep your work status quo where it should be and not get noticed. I mean, hell, OP was doing this for a year and they didn't get caught. The problem is that in some industries, like programming or computer science or any kind of tech industry, working 3 jobs for 3 competitors is a big no-no because there's now a whole risk of, hey, are you using our intellectual property to assist your other jobs? We have no way of knowing. So it's just easier to terminate and inform other jobs of, hey, we might have an intellectual property breach. This employee was working for both of us on similar projects, and we have no idea what kind of cross-contamination we're seeing within our code base. That is just one example that I can think of off the top of my head for why this is a massive problem. And as much as I respect OP's dedication and grind, I'm starting to realize why there's a job shortage, because there's an entire subreddit dedicated to people holding anywhere from 2 to 5 jobs at once. It's, in a sense, kind of just nepotism on steroids, because once you have a job, it's easier to get another job, which then you can just stack your experience and, oh, look at that. Suddenly you're getting 3 to 4 years worth of experience off of one single year, and then you can get a 5th job, and oh, look at that. You're now pretty much just rolling in income. So, yeah. I don't know if I'm disgusted or just absolutely impressed. Cross posted from r/am I the asshole. Am I the asshole for not being another person who begs my niece to let her dad off the hook for leaving her mom for someone else? My brother left his ex-wife, the mother of his daughter, 16, for a woman he developed feelings for. This all went down a year ago. Now he's divorced from his daughter's mom and married the woman he left her for. My niece has not taken it well. She hates her dad for leaving for someone else, and 5 or so months ago, she told him she will never accept his current wife. She will always hate her and disrespect their relationship, and there's nothing he can say or do to convince her otherwise. She told him she doesn't care if she chases her off or if she loses him in the process. They will never be a family, and he can beg and plead and spend all his money trying to make it work, but she will never give in. When my brother couldn't get my niece to have a change of heart, he told our family and had our parents and the rest of our siblings talk to her about it, which they all did. They all tried to make her have grace for my brother, to forgive her dad and or to see it as none of her business. They said she shouldn't take any of this out on his new wife, and she shouldn't lose her father over him falling in love. They even tried telling her that his new wife wouldn't do anything until he left her mom. But she didn't care, and she told them. She said she's glad she's making them both miserable and that they deserve to be miserable. She said her dad isn't a good person and she doesn't have grace for him. She's asked everyone if they would be encouraging the same if her mom had left her dad for someone else. Of course, no one touched that question because of course they wouldn't. They know it too. Nobody has been able to change her mind or soften her to my brother and his wife. I'm the only person who hasn't tried, and I have been asked to several times already, but I refuse. I told them I don't agree with pushing her and I want to keep a strong relationship with my niece. Everyone else has destroyed theirs with her by pressing her to forgive. My brother told me this is about saving his relationship with his daughter, and that's more of a priority than my relationship with her. I held my stance then, and when my parents told me she needs us to try because she deserves a good relationship with all 3 of her parents, and especially her dad, who was always an amazing father. Other siblings have said I'm her favorite, that I'm the uncle she turns to the most because I'm the youngest and closer in age to her than most of my siblings. I still refuse to take part in it, and they said I need to really think about all the harm being done here, which I think is not on me at all, but perhaps others will say different, hence my post. Am I the asshole? Your brother split up his family for someone else, and it seems there's probably additional details that we don't fully know about. Daughter doesn't like the fact that family was split up and he moved on so quickly. And brother's family is now trying to pressure the niece to forgive and forget, but OP says nah, she's allowed to have her own feelings. She's 16, nearly an adult. Let her grow and let her learn. Family's now dealing with the consequences of their relationship deteriorating with the niece because they're trying to control her valid feelings. OP's doing the right thing here, by allowing the niece to actually have her feelings. Cross-posted from r/coworker stories. My coworker tried to quit dramatically, but the manager said, okay, too fast. Today, one of my coworkers stormed into the manager's office yelling, "I've had it with this place, I quit!" Clearly expecting drama, maybe some begging. The manager just looked up from his computer and said, "Okay, good luck out there." My coworker froze, stammered, "Wait, you're just letting me quit?" Manager shrugged and went back to typing. 5 minutes later, my coworker sheepishly asked if they could unquit. Manager said no. The silence in the office afterward was louder than their entrance. Just as a general word of advice, never say that you quit if you're not ready to actually quit, even if it's just ironic, because I mean, this could happen to you. You threaten to quit hoping for some kind of pay raise or some kind of dramatic negotiations to occur because they just need you so badly. And turns out you're quite disposable. And in fact, even before any paperwork was actually filed for you quitting the office, they were pretty secure with you leaving.
Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code OZ at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.